Hey everyone, welcome back to Python 0 to Hero. This is session 3, and today we are going to level up your coding skills by learning how to make your programs interactive and smarter. By the end of this session, you will know how to take input from users and how to use both built-in functions and create your own custom functions. All about operators in Python. And finally, we will write a few mini programs that combine everything we have learned so far. Let's get started. Let's see how to take input from users. Yeah. So far, we have only printed things to the screen, but real programs often need input from users. Python makes this super easy using the function called input. So we have an input function with which we can actually get the data from the console. Get the user input from the console. Let's say I have to read input from user, something like I would like to know his name. Okay, so input. So within this, we have to pass uh, s- the string. I'm like the question what you are asking. Enter your name, and now when you see when you execute this, right, you can see it is actually asking for some input. So once you provide input, then only you can go to the next cell. So it is waiting for the user input. So I can just provide some name. Yep, done. So I'm providing the input. Okay, this is so we can actually take the input from uh, the console. So this input function will actually pause and wait for the user to type something. And whenever you are trying to capture this input, right? So always it will capture the input in string. Let's see how it is. So let us actually take this input and store it in a variable. Okay. So now I'm just providing the input. Okay. So now if you see the type of name, it is string. So input function always returns a string. Even if you are entering some name, like some number, okay. Even if you're entering some number, it will take it as like a string. Okay. So let's capture age. Okay. Done. So if you want to uh, see the type of age, right? So it is still showing it as string. So basically input function will always return string. Let's say if you want to convert this to integer. In that case, we need to do it little different. So we need to actually do the typecasting. So so what I'm doing here is whatever the input we are capturing, I'm just casting it to integer. So now let's see how it works. Now let's see type of age. Now it is integer. Okay. So we already looked at typecasting in the session 1. So variant, right? So we have converted string to integer, integer to string, and float to integer and all, right? So you can also ask uh, multiple questions and combine the inputs. Basically, like uh, so let us say I have another question which I want to ask the user. So int, okay, okay. So I can capture the city. And now, if you want to create a statement, I mean like a combined statement, from the inputs you captured, right? So you can still do it. Okay, so I can use print uh, something like hi user. Username is Alice, and okay, now we can see a combined string, right? So what we are doing is we are actually asking for inputs from the user, and then we are just creating a combined string. So if you can see, right, so name and city are string, so I can directly concatenate by using plus operator. So that's how I just printed the string. I'm like a combined string, combined input. So which is like this. And now let's discuss about the functions in Python. So there are many built-in functions. Python gives us a lot of built-in tools to do things much easier. These are called built-in functions. So print is like a function, right? So print is a function. Okay, print is a function. So we also have length. So if you want to identify the length of the string, right? So we can use length. Length is a function, and we have like let's say if you have some elements and if you want to identify the maximum of it, right? So we have max of 10 comma 20 comma 30, right? So it will give you the maximum value, and we have the type. Okay, so we have looked at all these functions, right? So type of name, it will give you the uh, uh, what is the data type of that particular variable. So these are like a built-in functions. So we'll look at like these built-in functions later, and let's discuss about the custom functions. So if you want to define your own function, right? If you want to define your own function, then we can create mm, our own function. Okay, so by using the keyword called def. Def is the keyword, so which is used to create your own function. Functions would help you to make your code much cleaner and reusable. So let us say I would like to create a function called greet. So whenever you want to create a function, you need to start with def keyword, and greet is the function name. Greet is the function name. And I want to print something like hello followed by uh, hello followed by name. This is my function. So here we call this name as a parameter to this particular function. So basically, the basic syntax would be like basic syntax will be like a definition followed by the function name, and within this we will pass the parameters. After that, colon, and just give an enter and return result. So this is what the basic definition of of a function. So in Python, we have something called indentation. So we do not have curly braces like Java. Okay, so to tell that this particular code block belongs to this particular function or like this particular method. So in Python, we have something called indentation. Indentation is nothing but four spaces. So whenever if you are saying something is belonging to this particular particular function or this particular piece of code, right? So you have to give the indentations. Okay, so when we look at the control flows, uh, we'll learn a lot about these indentations. Okay, so now as of now, we're just creating one custom function. So we, whenever you are creating any function, you need to start with def keyword and then followed with the function name, and within open bracket close bracket, you need to pass the parameters and colon, and then give an enter with an indentation. Uh, After indentation, right, you just need to write your code, reusable code. So here, this is my function. To this function, I am uh, I am passing the argument value. So let's take some value from input. So name equal to input something like enter your name. Okay, so I am just asking the user input and I'm taking the name. And now name has some value. So if you want to greet the user, right? So what you can do is you can actually use print. You can call that particular function. To that function, you can pass the value which is there in this name. So remember, this name and this name both are different. So the scope of this parameter is within this particular function. The scope of this particular name is uh, uh, it is within the entire session. Okay, within this entire session. So when I execute this, right, this code block, okay, so after taking the input, it will also call the greet function, and as greet function is printing hello followed by name, so it will just print it in the console. See here, hello Alice. So why you are getting none here? Because the reason is this particular function is not returning anything, but we are just calling it. Okay, so just remove this print and let's give it a try again. See, so this is how you can create the dynamic functions. Okay, so now let's discuss about the parameter versus the returns. So let us create uh, a function called add. Add. So I am providing two parameters here. A comma B are the parameters, and whenever I am returning, right, so I am just returning A plus B. Okay, this is my simple function which will take two parameters. Okay, and it will give you the sum of those two parameters. Okay, it is just returning back to the calling statement. So this is like a function. I just created it. Now, when I do add 2 comma 3, you will get 5 as an output. How this will work is this add function is taking 2 comma 3 as an input. Okay, so whenever we execute this particular function, so it will go to this code block. Okay, so A will contain 2 and B will contain 3, and 2 plus 3 is nothing but 5. So that is what the value it is returning. And this is a function which is actually returning the value. We can also create the functions which are not returning anything, which are just printing something, right? So like this. Okay, this is actually not returning anything. So you are not returning anything. That is the reason whenever we use the print statement, it just gave none as an output. Okay, so we can also create the functions with default parameters. Okay, so we can also create the function with default parameters. Let us say I have this greet function, and if I am not passing any value to this greet, it will throw an error. So what it is throwing, it will tell you like missing one required positional argument. Okay, missing one required positional argument. So the argument is name. So let us say if you are not clear about it, okay, and let us say the user might enter the input or he might not enter the input. Still the function should work. In that case, we can actually pass the default parameters. We can assign name equal to something like friend. Okay, friend. So that if we are not assigning any value to the name whenever you're calling the function, by default it will take friend as the value to name. I just created it, and now if I call the greet function, so it will tell hello friend. So what it is doing, instead of name, it took the default value. Likewise, we can also create a function which is even or odd. Okay, so we tell a number is even if it is perfectly divisible by 2, and if it is odd, if it is not able to uh, if it is not divisible by 2, right? So let's create a function for that. For this we have to learn if else statements. If else statements, so these are like a control statements. Okay, so so here, right, so we write if else statements. The syntax of if is like if followed by condition, and then give some statements, and you can also have else and the statements. So this is how if else statement will work. And now let's say I have a variable called n equal to 3, and I have to check whether this is divisible this is like a even number or odd number. So if n is divisible by 2, right? So if it is perfectly divisible by 2, then I can tell it as like a even number, right? So if it is not divisible by 2, okay, I can tell it as like a odd number. Okay, so see, n is 3, right? So it is like a odd number, right? So that's how it got printed. So it is not perfectly divisible by 2, right? So now let's say if you want to keep this entire logic in a function, okay, you can still do it. So def is underscore even followed by take some number, and just copy paste the logic. That's all. So now to this particular function, right, I can pass any value. Okay, I want to check whether 5 is even or not, right? So it is not an even number, it is an odd number. I want to check 6 is an even or not. So it's an even number, right? So I can actually write one code and call it multiple times. S- I mean, I mean, like, this is how the code reusability works with functions. You don't want to write code again and again. Similarly, if I want square of a function, okay, square of x, and return x into x. This is the square of x, right? So if you want to identify the square of 5, right? So we'll get 25. So this is how it works. So here we have a concept of arguments. Argument is a value you pass to the function. So here we have 5, right? So 5 is called an argument. Okay. So within the function, this x is called a parameter, a parameter, a parameter. Okay. Just remember, uh, so this 5 is called an argument to this function, and x is called parameter within the function. So now let's discuss about operators in Python. So there are like operators which are special symbols or keywords used to perform operations on various values and variables. For example, we have plus. for addition, minus for subtraction, star for multiplication, double equal to uh, for comparison, right? So equal to for assignment, right? So uh, let me quickly explain that. Let us say if you are doing 5 minus 3, this will give you 2. So here minus is called a subtraction operator. I mean, like, this is like an arithmetic operator, so which is doing subtraction. Okay, these are like arithmetic operators. So there are like multiple types of operators, like arithmetic operators, comparison operators, logical operators, assignment operators, right? So we have something called bitwise, some membership operators, and identity operators. So this arithmetic operators are like nothing but addition, like plus, minus, asterisk, into, which is nothing but into, or like forward slash, which is for division, double forward slash for floor division. That's a modulus and exponential, right? So these are like arithmetic operators, right? So okay, so we have addition, so which is nothing but 6 plus 3. Here it is doing addition, and let's do 6 minus 3. Here it is doing subtraction, and we have 3 into 5. Okay, so here it is doing multiplication, and we have division. Okay, so something like 10 by 2. So this will give you the division, and if you want to get the floor division, right? So something like uh, 5 by 3. So it will give you 1. So which is nothing but the coefficient. And if you want to get the remainder, so we can use modulus. Okay, and if you want to get the exponential value, right? So let's say you want to get 5 to the power of 2. Okay, 5 with power of 2, right? So it will give you the exponential value. Okay, and similarly we have the comparison operators, so which will compare two values, and it will give you whether it is true or false. Okay, it will tell you whether it is true or false. So comparison operator is like the first one is double equal to. Let's say if I want to compare 3 3 equal to 5, right? So it is like a false, which is not correct, right? So 3 equal to 3, so which is correct, right? So it will give you true. So something like this, right? So if you want to do some comparison between two values, so we can use this comparison operators. So here, right? So double equal to is used to check equal to, and if you want to do some not equal to, then this is the one. Okay, 3 5. Okay, not equal to, this is equal to, this is not equal to, comparison operator. And likewise you can also use uh, greater than or less than. This is like a less than comparison operator. We have greater than, and similarly you can also play with greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, like you want. And we also have logical operators, which is used to combine multiple conditions. Okay, if you have like multiple conditions, okay, so multiple conditions, then these logical operators will work. For example, and. So and will be true if both are true. If both the conditions are true. If all the conditions are true, then and will be, the final result of and will be true. Coming to or, logical or will be true if any one of them is true, and not will give you the vice versa of the result. For example, let us say I have two conditions. Okay, uh, 3 great 3 less than 5 and 5 greater than 2. Okay, these are my two conditions, and will give you true only if both the conditions are true. Okay, it will be true and will give you true if and only if both the conditions are true. So here 3 less than 5, it's a true, and 5 is greater than 2, it's a true, right? So final result should be true. If any one of the if any one of the statement is false, then and will give you false as an output. 5 is greater than 6, which is false, right? So it will give you false. This condition is false, but this, even if this condition is true, right? So it will give you the false. So and will give you true if only both the conditions are true. And coming to or, right? So or will give you true if any one of the condition is true. Okay, if any one of the condition is true, then it will give you the output as true. So in this case, both the conditions are true, right? So 3 less than 5, which is true, and 5 greater than 2, both, which is true, right? So now coming to this particular condition, right? So here, um this condition is true, but this condition is not true. This is false, right? So, but still you're getting the output as true. Uh, in and or, right? So if both the conditions are false, it will give you the output as false. Let us say I'm just making 3 is greater than 5 or 5 is greater than 6. Here both the conditions are false, right? So the final condition will also be the false. And similarly, you can also test for and as well. So and will also give you false if both the conditions are false. And coming to not will reverse the result. For example, if you have a um, condition something like uh, 3 is not equal to 5. Okay, basically the output is true. So if you want to change the result to false, if you want to have the opposite result, right, in that case you can use not, so that it will give you the opposite of true. So basically what happens here is first it will compute this result, and to this it is actually negotiating the result. It means it is giving you the um opposite boolean value, which is if it is false then it will become true, if it is true it will become false. And similarly we have assignment operators. Okay, so if you want to assign any value to variables, we will use this assignment operator. For example, right, so let's create a variable called x, and to this x I want to assign some value which is 10. So now x will contain 10. Likewise, if you want to increment some value to the value present in x, right, in that case we can use uh, increment operator. Okay, so x plus equal to 5. So what it will do is it will basically do x equal to x plus 5. Okay, x equal to x plus 5. You can also write it something like this, increment assignment operator. Okay, what you are doing is you are assigning plus 5 to the existing value which is there in x. So now the new x value will be 15. Likewise, you can also do x minus equal to 5, so that it will reduce the value by 5. You can do multiplication, you can do division, you can do modulus, you can do exponential value. Okay. Okay, so let's discuss about bitwise operators. Bitwise operators will operate at bit level. Let us say you have a equal to 5. So the bit value of a 5 is 0 1 0 1, and the bit value of b, I'm like, let's say I am assigning b equal to 3. So the bit value of uh, 3 is 0 0 1 1. This is the representation of binary, and you can do bitwise operations. Let's say if I want to get the value of uh, and, okay, so a and b, it will give you 1. So how it is doing is it is actually implementing AND operation between this 1 and 1. So if both are 1, it will give you output as 1. If any one of them is 0, then it will give you the output as 0. So actually the bit value, the final bit value of AND is, AND between 5 and 3 is actually 0001, so which is equivalent to 1. So that's how you're getting the output. Likewise, we also have the membership operators. Membership operators. Okay, so this will check whether the value exists in a sequence or not. For example, right, so let's say I have a text equal to some Python. Okay, so let's say if you want to check some character in this text, right? In that case, what I can do is we can use in. Okay, so I want to check whether P is there in P is in text or not. So if it is there, you'll get true. If it is not there, uh, we'll get I'm like, If it is not the right, you might have got false. Okay, let's say if I want to check small p uh, not in text, right? That's true. Basically, small p and capital T are different, right? So if you consider ASCII values, so that's how it works. And we also have something called identity operators, which will compare whether two variables refer to the same object or not. For example, right, uh, let's say we have entity operators. Let's say we have x equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 and y equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 2 comma 3. And now uh, okay, so identity operators. So let's discuss about identity operators. In identity operators, right, so we will compare whether two variables refers to the same object or not. So let us say x is equal to 1 2 3, and what I'm doing is I'm just assigning direct x to y and creating an object, and I have z equal to the same elements. I'm just passing the same elements. Now if you want to check whether x and y are same or not, right? So in that case we can use is operator. So x is y, so it will give you true. And now I want to check x is z or not. So let's give a try. X is z or not. So it is telling you false. So what is happening here is, even though x and z has same elements, but still x and z are not same, because uh, these elements have the same value but these objects are different. So basically is will work on top of objects. So whenever you're creating any variable in Python, it will create like an object, right? So these two are different objects, so that is the reason we're getting false. And here, right, if you see, right, so you are just passing this particular you're just saying y equal to x here, so it means the object difference of x is the same for y as well. Okay, that's all within operators. Now let's discuss about a mini program using everything. So let's create a simple calculator. Okay, simple calculator. So this calculator will take input from the user itself, and based on that it will give you the output. Okay, calculator. So I'm just asking for number one, int of input, enter first number. It should be in double quotes. Similarly, I will ask for number 2, enter second number. And I will also ask for the operator, input, enter the operator. If operator is double equal to plus, okay, then I want to print the result as num1 plus num2. And if the operator is minus, then print the result with minus. Similarly, I can also write for multiplication. I can write for division, and I can have an else at the end, invalid operator. something like. Okay, so now let's execute this. So I think we have our calculator ready. Now let's call this calculator. So it is asking for my first number, done. It is also asking for my second number. I'll just give the operator as well, done. So the result is 3. So similarly, if you want to do multiplication, you can still do it. 3, 2, and asterisk is my operator. No, something went wrong. So here I have provided minus minus, that is the reason. So let's give into here, and here just provide forward slash. Let's recreate the function, and now let's execute it again. So 3 is my first number, 2 is my second number, and asterisk is my operator. You can see the output. And now let's execute it again. Let's see if there is any invalid condition. 4 is my first number, 5 is my second number. Let's take some other operator ampersand. So it is telling you invalid operator. So this is how we can create a calculator. And with this, I would like to wrap up the things. So in this session, we made a lot of progress. We have learned how to take input from users, and we have explored about functions, both built-in and more about like custom functions, and little knowledge on conditional statements. And we have discussed more about the operators, and we have written one mini program which is like a real world logic. And in the next section, we will cover more about control flows and writing decision based logic. And if this session helped you, leave a like, subscribe, and comment below. I will see you in the next session. Thank you.